Hi friends, it's Becky, and I want to share the 7th and final anniversary bundle from Beadbox Bargains. That is the sister store for Bargain Beadbox. And this last week, they did a special where they released a new bundle every day of the week for 7 days, and they were specially curated bits and bobs of beads and findings and things curated to a theme, and it was a really fun sort of exercise. I did not get all 7 of those bead bundles. My sister did not get all 7 of those bead bundles, but between the two of us, we did get up all 7. So we have been sharing over the last week each of these bundles. There will be links in the description below so that you can go and watch the other 6 bundles, the unboxings. What we're doing is opening them up, organizing them into an organizer, and then sharing a design on the fly. And it's been really fun. It's been a little bit of extra work though, because in addition to doing these, we've also been doing some other designs and videos. But it has been nice to be able to have a little bit of extra fun, a little bit of extra content to be able to share with y'all. So you're going to be seeing this on Friday. Just want to let you guys know, if you're watching it Friday morning, Friday evening, early evening, I'm going to be on the Sam's Bead Shop channel here on YouTube. I'm going live with them and with Kirk Morgan. She's going to be there too, and we're just going to have a little bead party. So there will not be a late night beading on Friday this week. We will instead have a Sister Saturday with Jenny. We'll be going live on Saturday, and that's going to be earlier in the day. So if you're not a night owl, you might still be able to make it. But for now, let's go ahead and look at this. This is the Rose Gold Garden Deluxe bundle. I'm excited to open it. It looked gorgeous. It's very small, which means that there's a lot of tiny things in here, which sometimes the best things come in the tiniest packages. So I'm excited to open this up. But I also got this free gift. They usually include at Beadbox Bargains a little free gift with each order. Sometimes it's findings, sometimes it's a string of beads, sometimes it's something really cool like these lampwork beads. But it's always a surprise, and it is always welcome to me anyway to get something for free. But check out these lampwork beads. They've got like some gold foil in them. They've got these little roses on the front. They've got the green dots, and they are star-shaped with a fairly large hole from top to bottom. Maybe they're not stars, maybe they're flowers. They might be flowers. You know what? They've got rounded edges. I'm going to call them flowers. But they are really pretty, and I am glad that I got those. Those are my free gift from Beadbox Bargains. Alright, let's take a look at what we've got. Beads! I'm sorry, I love this. I love that it's a garden, because it's got like all of these different like floral colors with some green, and then we've got the rose gold accents and everything mixed in, and most of the beads are on the smaller side. The last bundle that I opened up had a bunch of larger beads, so this is going to be fun. And the fact that this is all in rose gold means that they included a bunch of findings in that metal color, just to make sure that we've got enough of all of these things to be able to create stuff with. So I'm going to save the findings for after we go through the beads. Got some head pins too. Alright. Now, we don't have a list, but we do have labels on each of these that tell us what's in them. You know, honestly, I think these guys kind of go with the theme. My little freebie gift, especially with like this gold leaf on the inside, it kind of feels rose goldy a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I will put them in here. Now, I do like to sort things into my 15 grid organizers. It's my favorite way to store and organize my monthly bead boxes or my bead bundles. There are a couple of bead boxes that I use different organizers for, but for the most part, these 15 grid ones, they do the trick. All right, let's start with some of the strings of beads. I'm not going exactly in order as they go, because I just, you know, I like doing things my own way. But we're going to get these organized in here. I've got my ladybug dish so that I can bring these beads up closer to the camera. And you guys can get a better look at them before I get them organized in there. But take a look at these. They are pink and purple tourmaline faceted rondelles, and they are 5 by 3.5 millimeters, and this is a 7.5-inch strand. And there's our different colors of pink and purple on there. I'm going to wiggle this just a little bit so you can get some of that sparkle from the faceting. And I'm going to go ahead and leave it on its strand in the bead box, but I am going to snip these long pieces because they don't always tuck nicely into the box. Just to snip that part, I'm leaving the knot on them. Let's get that one sorted and situated there. We've got a long strand over here. They're 4mm amethyst faceted cube beads. I love that there's so much faceting in this because sparkle, which is one of my favorite things in the world. So let's get this on here. I'm going to do a little wiggle for the camera so you can see the variation in purple color in this strand, but also that sparkle on those facets. Isn't that pretty? Love this. Might leave this on the strand. No, I'm going to go ahead and snip that open. Where are you going, buddy? Sometimes I have a plan with where things go, and sometimes I just organize them fairly randomly. It all depends on where my brain is that day. But, there we go. I do love these amethyst beads. They are so pretty. And they add a nice dark contrast to some of the lighter colored gemstones and crystals that we've got in here. Ooh, take a look at these yellow ones. These are some glass rondelles in lemon chiffon. There's 10 grams of these. They are 4 by 2.5 millimeters. Let's get some of these up closer, and it looks like we've got almost a chatoyancy in them. We've got a couple on their side here. So that's going to show through when they're strung. Kind of like mermaid glass or miracle glass, miracle beads. I like that. That is really cool. That's what that word is, by the way. Chatoyancy, like with tiger eye. I always forget that word. So I'm actually really happy that I remembered it for this video because I always have to look it up afterwards or something. And this is Hessianite garnet. It is faceted rounds in 4 to 4.5 millimeters. Oof. The Hessianite garnet is really great. It is one of those like warm color sort of beads with like you've got some dark browns, some light browns, and some that lean closer to red. So they're not quite garnet. Alright, and this guy's going in here, but again, I'm just going to snip this long end just so that we don't have to deal with those. And then we've got some more of these smaller. Ah, these are so tiny. These are actual garnet, not the Hessianite garnet. I mean, these are still garnet, but they're Hessianite garnet. 7.5-inch strand. These are 3 to 3.5 millimeters, so they are tiny. Our little tiny buddies. Small guys. But they are also sparkly. Alright, let's get this snipped off here. So that we can get them actually, there we go, into a section. I am definitely leaving them on the strand. just because it's easier to design when they're on a strand. Just especially teeny tiny ones like this, because then I don't have to use a scoop to get them out of there, or tweezers. I can just pull off the strand and get them out of there that way. All right, one more, well, two more actually, because this is crystal, but this is definitely, well, they're man-made. It's fine. More teeny tiny guys. These are 3mm cubic zirconia, man-made, faceted round beads in olivine. It's giving peridot, but look how it sparkles. Look at that sparkle, honestly. Alright, now we've got some 4mm synthetic hematite faceted round beads. And it looks like these are rose gold-ish. Oop, and they are on a wire, so let's get this wire out of here. Actually, this is a different wire than we usually get stuff on. Usually it's a much thinner gauge and a lot more frustrating for me. But I am going to snip this right there so you can start getting these guys off of here. But they are faceted sort of in the same faceting that you get with like fire polish beads. They will make fantastic spacers with the things that we can design with this. Stick around for after, because I will be doing a design on the fly with all of these beads. It's something that we've been doing, me and Jenny, stretching our design on the fly chops. I haven't had any big ideas yet, but I might. Let's just keep going and see what the beads want me to turn them into. Okay. More sparkle, my friends, more sparkle. These are 4mm crystal fast round beads in light rose AB. So you've got that beautiful AB sheen along with all that faceting and that light rose color. This is perfect for a garden theme. You know, do y'all remember the Mayflowers bead box? That's sort of a little reminiscent of that, this companion bundle, but with rose gold findings. All right, one more. Alright, and then these are the last little beads. They are rhinestone beads in light amethyst. These are polymer clay rounds with rhinestones pressed in. There are 10 of them. And speaking of sparkle, polymer clay means they're very lightweight and very easy to be able to create with. I'm going to go ahead and toss these guys in here with my rhinestone beads. Again, these were free. They did not come with the companion bundle. So if you got a companion bundle and you're like, oh, where are my lampwork beads? Sorry, you don't get any of them unless they were in your free with the purchase. Okay, so now let's get to our pendants. They are also sparkly. Right, this one is 27 by 24.5mm. It is rose gold plated brass, so let's look at the back here and then flip it over. Ah, sparkle. It's got a bail on it. Bails can be removed if you don't like that bail. And then you can make your own, or transform it into a different type of pendant. But you are going right in there. And then we've got these guys. In fact, this and this would be perfect for earrings together. I'm going to definitely do that, actually. I think we'll do necklace and earrings. After that, that's going to be my design on the fly with this. Alright, and since there are two of these, I can lay one of these down, face down, and one face up, since they are both the same. And again, these charms or pendants, they come with a bail on them, but those bails can be removed. And I'm going to be doing that actually for my earrings, I believe. But they are 16.5 by 14 millimeter rose gold plated brass and cubic zirconia. I love the multicolored flowers. I think that that is just super fun. And that also like was a really good excuse to get like some of these other colors into the mix with that, where you have the light yellows, you have these darker like hessianite colors, you've got the purples, the whole thing. Alright, what am I doing with this? Now, metals. Let's go through this. Alright, these are lobster clasps in rose gold. They are hypoallergenic, which means if you have metal allergies, you can absolutely use them. I love a good lobster clasp. Looks like they already come with jump rings attached to them. I'm going to stick them in here with the pendants. I often do closures and pendants in the same section. And then we've got some filigree brass links. They are in rose gold. Now this doesn't have metal content listed, so it probably, to be safe, it's best to assume that it isn't allergy friendly. But they are super pretty, super shiny, and super lightweight. I'm going to stick these right over here. And to go with them, we have two-piece stainless steel hypoallergenic laser cut flower charms in rose gold. So these charms are allergy friendly. And they are going to be the same on both sides. I'm going to stick them in here too. Alright, I've got some rose gold plated stainless steel chain. It is 3 by 2.5 millimeter. Ooh. The chain is sparkly, guys. We're going to stick the chain right over here. Alright, we've got some culottes. They are clamshell beads, tips, and rose gold. They have two loops. Where are the two loops? Okay, two loops on each side. Usually what you do with these is you either have a knot in your cord, or if you've got beading wire, you'll put a crimp on there, close this up, and then you can do a jump ring through there. That's how the culottes work for those bead tips. I'm going to stick those in here. And I think I'm going to also put my jump rings in there too. These are 21 gauge 5mm jump rings in rose gold. They are already open. And there are 30 of those in here. Let's stick them in there with that. And then we've got some ear wires. They are nickel-free brass earring hooks in rose gold. Let me see. There are 20 pieces, so you've got 10 pairs. They are going right in here. And then we've got some 24 gauge brass head pins in rose gold. They are lead-free and cadmium-free. Looks like they are on the shorter side, but that's all right. I'm going to end up putting them probably across the top of here when I close this, just because I don't know that they'll fit great in any of these sections. Actually, they might fit over here with these other findings. I'm going to be putting these two together in here, because, you know, sometimes you have roommate situations. All right. These are actually decent quality, it feels like, for these head pins. That is nice. I've got some bead caps. They are 4.5mm rose gold plated brass bead caps, lead free and cadmium free. Most of them end up sort of upside down. Here's one that is not upside down if you want to see what it looks like on the outside. They're little teeny guys. We're going to put that in there with them. And then we've got some small brass rhinestone rondelles in rose gold and crystal. There are 40 of these in this box, and I love that. Some of them are standing on their side so you can see those rhinestone sparkles. Looks like it is the light crystal color of rhinestone, not pink or purple or anything like that. That is beautiful. So we're going to add those. Whoop. Ah, there we go. All right, so let's get some of these beads out and figure out what we want to make with them. I know I want to make a necklace and earrings, and I want to use the pendants that came in this box. So let me have a think about this, and I will be right back after I've had a little bit of time to look at these and figure out what I'm doing. Okay, so I've decided what to do with this. I went ahead and pulled out some beads, laid them all in the order that I want to string them. This is just for one side. I'll pick up and string the other half when I get to that part. But I am going to be stringing onto some soft flex medium beading wire. I like this butterscotch Imperial Topaz. It's kind of a lighter, warmer version of their copper colored wire, and I think it's gonna go great, especially with this, like the Hessianite garnet. Look how great that looks together. So I'm gonna be using that. For tools, I've got my flush cutters, my crimpers. I like to use the magical crimper. It's my favorite way of crimping. I've got some round nose pliers and some chain nose pliers, so we'll be using those. And I've also got some 20 gauge wire, and I'm just sort of torn between using the non-tarnished copper, it's a bright copper color, or this rose gold color. They are both pretty nice, but a lot of these copper, or a lot of these, the rose gold color things, I think they might be closer. No. Yeah, no, I think it's gonna look better with the rose gold colored wire. So I'll be using that for the earrings when I get to that. I am going to be using these charms. I'm going to set them aside for now so they get a little less confusing on the mat. I'm going to be using some of these rondelles in there, and then the same beads that I'm using for stringing the necklace, which are some of the Hessianite garnet, some of this olivine cubic zirconia, some of these glass lemony yellow rondelles, and the amethyst cube beads. I've also got some of these rondelles in here that are going to be strung along because I wanted to pull out all of the same colors that we have in this pendant with this warm, almost orange color with the Hessianite garnet. We've got the green, so I've got those olivine color sparkly guys. We've got the yellow, so we're going to use these, and then we've also got that purple So we've got the amethyst, so we'll have all of those. Oop, almost forgot. All of this CZ crystal-y color is going to be there with the rondelles. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to string up half of it, check the length, and then either decide to continue up or say, okay, that's long enough. Then we'll put our pendant on and start stringing up the other side. Alright, and I am going to be using some ear wires for the earrings. I'm going to put that with the earring stuff. And then I pulled out the lobster clasp and a couple of the jump rings that came in this box. Or bag, as you know, in the bundle. I did discover while I was looking for them that I am out of copper colored crimps. So I'm just going to use these gold colored ones. It'll be fine. Alright, I'm going to just start stringing, and you guys can just hang out with me while I'm stringing these along. This is the chummy part of the thing. When I was deciding how to place these on here, I wanted the yellow and purple together because they are just yellow and purple as a color combination are one of my favorites, like pansies that have purple and yellow petals. Love, love, love that color. Love that color combination. So having those two together was going to be really great for me. And then I've got the green guys on either side of my hematite beads. But I was wondering where to put these little sparkly rondelles, and I decided to stick them there between those rondelles, the glass rondelles, and the hessianite garnet, because it gives it more separation between those. And since those two beads are similar size, not really similar shape, but similar enough in size, it also adds a little bit of definition between the two beads. So add some sparkle, add a little more definition. There we go. Like that. So I'm just going to be stringing it like this all the way up until we get to the end. I've got these all in a row. I guess the only limiting factor I have is that those rhinestone rondelles, there were 40 of them in this box, and that is the only really limiting factor as to how long I can make this with this design. If it goes too much longer after this, then I would have to shorten it or just do the design without them, which wouldn't be a terrible thing to do, especially as it's going along the back of the neck or something like that. But this is going to be a very tiny gemstone necklace, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like I said, there were a ton of very large beads in that pink bundle that I opened up a couple of days ago. So having a bundle with some smaller beads, some gemstone-y beads, is actually kind of fun. I love that. Sometimes you have to stop and admire your work. Sometimes what I do is, instead of looking at it in person, I'll glance up here to the camera and look at it on screen. And I don't know why, but sometimes that gives me a better idea of how much I like it, whether it looks good on camera or just in person, you know? I don't know, maybe that's just a me thing. Maybe I only like it when it's on camera, or maybe it's just because it gives me a different perspective on it, and that different perspective just adds to whatever it is I already liked about it. You know, and sometimes you do that, like when you're creating art, you spend so much time looking at it in person that sometimes you have to step back or maybe take a photo of it and look at it just through your camera screen to decide if you like it or not. But sometimes having that layer of separation between yourself and your work gives you a better way of appreciating it. And you appreciate it more. So don't just stop and admire your work. Step back and admire it too. Kind of look at it, not with your eyes crossed necessarily, but just from a couple steps back, because it's really easy when we are looking at something that we're doing and we have been looking at it for a while, or it's been something that we're really concentrating on. We see all of the little pieces, we see all of the little beads that need to be where they're at, but we don't necessarily see the whole thing as a whole until we step back and look at it. And speaking of holes, where is the hole for this bead? I found it. I found it. There we go. Sometimes that is the hardest part of stringing beads, is finding the dang hole. Oh, my friends, I know you know what I'm talking about. There we go. Just stringing these things along like that. I love how sparkly it is. I'm just gonna roll it for a minute and let all that sparkle shine up at the screen. Honestly, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have sparkle in my life. I spent far too long being afraid of sparkle, not wanting it to draw attention to myself. So having stuff that sparkles and making things that sparkle just heals my soul, if you know what I mean. It makes me very happy. Oop, where are you going, buddy? There it is. I am absolutely loving it. Sometimes you need to sing a song about what you're making too. Or is that just me? Do any of you guys make up songs about what you're doing? Just stringing things along, adding sparkle, humming a little tune. Nope. I put those in the wrong order. There we go. You know, this would be perfect as a bracelet all by itself, like that. if I have enough beads. No, I'm definitely not going to have enough of the rondelles, but that's okay. That is okay. It is entirely possible that we might see some more of them up for sale on the site. It would be really nice if they would do that if that's the case, because that is one of those findings that is always welcome, a nice sparkly spacer like that in a rose gold colorway, which is not as common as gold or silver especially. So it is very nice that we got so many findings in this metal color in this bundle. I'm gonna just do a fit check. I'm gonna hold up what I've got to my neck to see how much longer I would like it to be. I do like a shorter necklace. That's who I am as a person. Ooh, you know what, my friends? I think it might just be about the right length for me. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna add just a couple more here to the back end and end with the green, my green beads, because they're going to be smaller, and have that be right next to my things, but that means that I don't need these ones that I had set aside to go with it. I'm not gonna need those as well. There we go. So there we go. We're ending right there. Just one more. Yep, perfect, perfect. That is going to hang fairly loosely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bead stopper on this end, like so. And then I'm going to snip this wire at about the same length. This back side, making sure I'm leaving enough wire for crimping. Now I could crimp this before I do that, but just in case I missed a part of my pattern, which if you guys were watching, you're probably screaming at my screen if I did, because y'all keep a good eye on there for the things that I miss sometimes. But I'm going to double check before I do the crimping to make sure that I don't have to unstring all of it, because if I do my crimp here and then I do the other side and then I realize, oh no, I missed this over here or something like that, then I wouldn't have the opportunity to maybe unstring just part of it. I'd have to unstring the whole thing. So I'm going to wait until I'm done, and I'm just going to go ahead and slide this bail right on here. And I've got some of the larger beads right next to the bail, so that should keep it from sliding around. And since these aren't in the order that I'm put these in, I didn't want to do 2 strands because I would definitely mess things up. I'm going to have to remember my order while I'm going through here, and I may end up talking myself through it. So I've got my yellow, purple, yellow right there, and then a sparkly rondelle. After that, the Hessian garment. Oh, garnet, not garment. I don't know why my brain and face made that noise. And then our cubic zirconia, a little teeny guy. And, ooh, you know what I'm missing? What I did not bring out for the rest of this. I am missing my hematite beads. Let's get these guys out here. Alright, so hematite, and then cubic zirconia. Come on, my little CZ buddy. There we go. And then the hessianite garnet. Got my rondelles next to each other. Rondelle square. Rondelle. This guy. So there we are so far. Just double checking that I did that right. Okay. Now, hessianite. Also, hessianite is a really fun word to say out loud. Try it. Say it out loud. Hessianite, hessianite, hessianite. I mean, you might try pronouncing it hessianite, but that sounds weird and pretentious. But I don't know, maybe that's you. Live your life. Be who you are. Okay. So far we are matchy-matchy. It's colorful, but in a sparkly way. I love it. This is what a riot of color should look like. It is a garden. I'm just putting these guys back with their friends. Where am I going? I need these guys over here. This one. It's the little ones that I have to like kind of hold my breath while I'm picking them up. So I'm like, where am I going? What am I doing? Everything is weird and funky. It's a good idea if you've got a few beads on next to your fingers to let them drop out of the way so that you don't accidentally lose them while you're picking up other beads. Stringing beads. I know, this is the fun and exciting part of this video. Believe me, I know. Where are we at? Okay, good, good, good. I know where we're at. Ooh, I like this one. It's got multiple colors. It's got the dark, and then it's got the light, and it's got the sort of bright. Like that. These little rondelles are making me think of like a really light lemonade color. That's what I am thinking of. Ooh. Guys, I love this. Absolutely love this. But yeah, this was one of those, I think it was up for less than 4 minutes before it sold out, which was crazy. Like, so many people had it in their carts and then it disappeared, like before they could even check out. Absolutely insane. I think when they did bundles last year, I only managed to get one of them. So this year I was really happy that I got more than one. But not all of them. I did not get all of them. And that's okay. Because I got enough. And Jenny got some too. So we're able to share them all with y'all. Oh, I've got 2 of the lemony yellow guys on there. So let's take one of those off. Because it's really easy to skip or miss a bead when you keep thinking about what's the next bead, and not necessarily what bead have I already got on there, you know? Sometimes instead of thinking too far ahead, I should just be thinking about right now. Because otherwise I'll miss right now. Oh, holy. Alright. I said that because I'm talking about holes. Looking for a hole. Holy beads, Batman. Okay. One more of these guys. You know, I may end up using so many of these beads that my box looks empty after I'm done. Because this is it so far. I pulled out all of the hessianite. I still have a little bit of the olivine stuff in here. I got both of my guys, so like, you know, I'm using the box. That's the whole purpose to buy beads, so you can use them. I know. Also to look at them. Also to play with them. But mostly to use them. Sometimes I will get beads and I'll be afraid to use them because I'm like, they're so good and I don't know what to do with them and I don't want to ruin them. Sometimes you think nothing you make is going to be good enough for those beads, but you know what? Use the good beads. Use the good beads. They'll make more. I promise. And one of the nice things about this hobby is if you hate what you make with the beads that you're using, you can always like unsnip the thing that you've made, take the beads off and make something else with it. You don't have to be locked into your one thing if you feel like it was a mistake. You can always change your mind, even later. Even a year later, even 2 years later. And say, you know what, that's just not me anymore. Alright, now one last one of these. And then my tiny green guy. And a tight guy. And one more tiny green guy. There you go. Oof, where are you going? There we go. Alright, I'm gonna hold these next to each other to make sure that we're even. To make sure that we are the same. And it looks like we are. I'm also going to do a real quick double check on that fit, and it is perfect, perfect, perfect. Alright, so now it's time to do some crimping. I'm just going to move some of these beads out of the way. I'm going to be using some of these for the earring in a minute, so I don't want them completely out of the way. But yeah, let's grab some of these crimps. Again, they're gold, so they're a little more yellow than the rose gold. My copper crimps would probably go a little bit better, but I will order some more so that I've got some copper crimps for the next time. Where's my crimper? And nobody's gonna see this. It's gonna be like in the back of the neck. Actually, let's start on that end. Ooh, or start with this end since I've already got it free. And I'm just gonna do a loop on the end of my wire because I've got some jump rings that I'm gonna be using to attach my closures. So you just bend it back, go through the crimp, and then I'm gonna get my crimper with this little concavity there. I'm gonna get that centered on my crimp, give it a smush. It smushes down just the corners of it, turn to a different angle, and smush all the way around at different angles until those corners have been smoothed out and I'm left with a nice smooth ball of crimp. I'm just going to curve this wire so that it isn't too tight when I do my next crimp on the other end. And for this one, I'm going to be crimping right next to my beads. And so I like to make sure that there's a little bit of space between my crimp and that last bead so that I can fit my crimper on there between the bead and the crimp without crushing the bead. There we go. And now I just need to attach some closures. Yeah, that gold isn't super noticeable. I'm definitely okay with that. Let's get that. Did I put the Yes, they are right over here. Perfect. Alright, I'm going to actually remove this jump ring that is holding this. Take that off. And include it on this jump ring. Attach that to the wire. That is the right side of the necklace. I like to put the part that has the fiddly bit on the right side since I am right-handed. That means I won't have to mess around with a lobster clasp using my left hand. And let's go ahead and add this jump ring. That one jumped right out of my grasp. That is not why they're called jump rings. Although you might think it is. I'm just going to attach this to this loop over here on this wire and close that up. There we go. So that's my necklace. I love that. I'm gonna move this out of the way. And let's do some earrings. Alright, for these earrings, I'm gonna do a link, and I'm using 20 gauge wire. So let's just do a simple loop on my links. Alright. Got a little hook here on the end. I'm going to snip that off with my flush cutter. Straighten out my wire. And I've got my ear wires, these guys. And I think what I want to do is sort of mimic the beading pattern that I had on those other ones, just a little bit. But without the ooh, let's make sure that these will fit on the 20 gauge wire, because if it doesn't, we're going to go get the 22 gauge. And it does. You don't want your gemstones to have to be forced onto any wire. And usually they'll fit at least on 20 gauge, but sometimes if they've got very small holes, they will not even fit on 20 gauge. You have to use 22 or 24 gauge wire instead. So it's always good to double check that the hole will fit, and I'm going to check each one of these tiny ones just in case one of them's got a smaller hole than the others. I can swap it out for one that doesn't. But yeah, I'm going to mimic the beading pattern a little bit for the necklace. There. Found the hole. See this one? I would have to force onto there, so I'm going to put that one away and grab another one. That's why you check all of them that you're going to be using, friends. Oh, and that one. Nope. Wait. Did it work? Okay, yes, that one works. And since that's already on, I'm going to go ahead and stack these guys on here to make my link. I'm working off the spool because that way I don't have to estimate how much wire I need for my link. I can just make my link with the beads right on there. And I'm using some of the lighter colored amethyst for this one. Oop. This Hushenite garnet does not have a big enough hole, but this one it should. Nope. Hold on. That one's stuck. I'm going to not force it. I'm going to go ahead and move it and be very gentle with it later. There we go. And then this guy on top. Be gentle with your gemstones, my friends. As you can see, that is basically the same as that part of the necklace design. Alright, so I'm going to let that drop down there, and from this end I'm going to grab my round nose pliers and I'm going to start making a simple loop. Now this end should be cut flush, just double checking that it is with my flush cutters. I'm going to make a simple loop about 1/3 of the way down this barrel from the pointed end towards the fat end by putting my wire right there between the barrels and then rolling it until it touches the end there. And then I'm going to just rotate the other end of my barrel until it is right below where it touches, and then bend it back so that it gives me a nice centered loop, and it's not quite closed, so I'm just going to do that with my chain nose pliers and then give it a smush. That's going to work hard in that loop and keep it from coming open. Alright, now I need to make a second loop. So I put all of my beads on next to that first loop. I'm going to measure 1 finger width down. Remember to snip the wire, not your fingers when you do that. Hold on to the wire so it doesn't go flying. And I want these loops to be perpendicular to each other. So if I can see the loop on this, it means that I'm going to be bending it back away from me. If the loop has disappeared, I'm going to bend it over to the side. So I'm going to hold my link in my fingers to give it some stability, to keep it from bending. When I use the leverage of my finger to push the wire back away from me, just right there next to that last bead. You can use your pliers to do a bend there too. I prefer using my fingers sometimes. And then you're going to measure about 1 centimeter away from that bead. I know from experience that this part of my finger, right here next to the bottom of my fingernail, that's 1 centimeter, so I usually use that for measuring, but you can use a measuring tool too. And then you're going to snip your wire. Make sure you hold on to it when you do that so it doesn't go flying. And then take your round nose pliers and about the same part of the barrel that you rolled the first loop with, you're going to roll that. You can roll back towards you or away from you until it meets the wire over there. And I'm just going to make sure that this wire is perpendicular. That means that they don't line up. And I want my pliers to make kind of a cross. So that's good. Alright, now one of these loops is going to attach to my ear wires, and the other loop is going to attach to my charm. And I'm just going to grab this bail that's on here and remove it so that I'm just left with this loop. Swing this loop open, attach the charm to that, close that up, swing it closed, give it a little love tap with your pliers, and then you can attach an ear wire. These ear wires have a little loop down here underneath this ball. So you can either swing this one open and attach it to that loop that we made, or since that is an openable loop here, you could swing that one open and close it too. That should give you a dangly guy with lots of sparkle that is going to match the necklace that we made. So I'm going to make this second earring real quick. Let's take those bails off. Let's get these beads on here. Again, finding the hole, often the hardest part with teeny tiny beads, especially when they are faceted, because sometimes you can't see where the hole is because the facet is so distracting. You know what I mean? There are so many pretty beads in this bundle. It has been an absolute treat getting all these little bead bundles and playing with them. I don't know, which bundle was your favorite? If you got all 7, or if you've just been watching, let me know which one you guys like, because it's always interesting which bundles might appeal to one person versus another, and why. Because, you know, the wonderful and terrible thing about people is we are all so different. Here, I'm going to show you how to do this with the pliers. I'm still holding this firm, but I'm just going to rest the edge of the plier next to where I want to bend it and give it a little bit of a push down. So I'm not actually bending I'm not moving the pliers so much as I'm closing this over where I want it to bend. That's how you do a little bend if you're using pliers instead of using your finger, like I did on the first one. Also, when you do this sort of thing, especially if you're bending right next to gemstones, you're going to want to be careful. You're going to want to be gentle if you can. And here's the part where I was telling you you can always swing this open instead of the ear wire in order to attach the ear wire to your necklace. It's one of the great things about using simple loops is they are versatile in how you can open and close them. So there's our earrings. Let me get them a little bit closer to the camera so you can see them better. They are so sparkly, my friends. And here's the necklace. This was so much fun to create with this bundle from Beadbox Bargains. That is one of my favorite bead stores because they have so many great beads at such great prices. It is a closeout shop though, so sometimes they will sell out of things. It happens. But this was such a great way to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Bargain Beadbox, which is one of my favorite bead subscriptions out there. If you haven't tried them out already, I have a link in the description for this that you can try out Beadbox Bargains or Bargain Beadbox. I have a discount code in there as well that you can use that will give you a couple of dollars off your first month subscription. And subscribers get a 30% off coupon code that they can use at the Bargain Beadbox store. And it comes in really handy, especially when you've got like bundles that come up that might be, I don't know, like $50 or something for that bundle. That 30% off coupon makes it a lot more affordable. Until next time, my friends, happy beading.